emergency pod, SDR emergency pod.
Welcome back, sports fans, to Sports Den Radio. That's right. This is a unconventional emergency podcast situation because there's an emergency out there. So this isn't really part of our regular podcast lineup. But we're here. We have a situation that is needed for fans need to let some steam out. So, I mean, we have a big thing going on in baseball right now, and baseball's really laid down their hand, and we are in an emergency situation. We need to get on this right away.
This is as code red as it has ever been over at SDR so far. This is absolute code red, all hands on deck. We have a major sign stealing controversy that continues to unfold by the day. And we want to first say very much thank you to all of the fans and friends who listened to the pilot episode and gave us all kinds of fun ideas for things to talk about on this episode. We appreciate that. We hear you, and we're going to be bringing you in at some point as well. So on to the current state of affairs, current events in baseball. So the majority of the public is aware of the sign stealing controversy, but for those who are not, here's a general recap of what happened. So in November, former Astros pitcher Mike Fiers announced in a report that the Astros had used the outfield camera and other tactics to electronically record sign stealing.
Unreal.
And even one step back, to understand what sign stealing is, for if you're unaware, pitchers and catchers use their fingers around there to kind of give each other indicators of what pitch to throw, one being fastball, two curveball. I mean, that's how it is in T-ball. I'm sure professionals are a little more complicated than that. But, I mean, if you're ever going to try to pick up on what those are, the traditional way to do it is to, get a man on second base and have him squint down there and try to see what's going on.
Play the game.
The Astros were using their home camera to zoom in on signals, report on them, study them, and would, in certain circumstances, depending on what they have figured out the pitch to be, actually let the batters know by banging on trash cans for slow pitches and doing nothing or some other type of action for fastballs. So they were actually trying to communicate to the batters what was going on. And this was divulged by Mike Fiers, which has since led to the firings of Houston's general manager and actual manager, the coach, AJ Hinch, who just obviously won the 2017 World Series. So this puts a massive taint on the Astros' 2017 World Series when this was being reported on against the Dodgers back in 2017. But wait, there's more. There's plenty more where that came from. So this all stems from the Pied Piper leading the event, former Dodger second baseman Alex Cora, who was the bench coach for the Astros in 2017. He was the one who's been seen as the ringleader for this whole activity. Mm-hmm. And then the following season, following that World Series championship, he parlayed that into the coaching job over at the Boston Red Sox, where this happened again. They were caught doing electronic sign stealing. Also against the Dodgers.
Can't write
also
this
in the World
up.
Series.
I'm telling you. So, LA, Hollywood.
Yeah, that's literally a story
that's a movie.
I mean, Moneyball was a movie, and this will be a movie at some point.
At some point. I mean, listen, Stephen A. Smith is calling this, the new Black Sox 2.0. Listen, remember 1919? Half the reason why I'm a White Sox fan is because of that story. Grew up on Field of Dreams, 8 men out. No players, here in this situation are getting punished. This is strictly the manager and general manager getting punished. Pete Rose got punished when he cheated, right? Black Sox got punished. Those players were banned from baseball. There's no banning from baseball right here. So it's early in the process, but correct. But this is 1 year suspensions that was handed down, a firing. Where's the integrity of the league? There needs to be a marker here of a line where it's considered having an edge in the game. Okay? Maybe Shoeless Joe Jackson and Pete Rose should be inducted in the Hall of Fame if you're going to go onto this side of the line. Players that, were possibly doing something wrong in order to get an edge for the game. Is PEDs an edge for the game? Is using cameras having an edge for the game? So there needs to be a line here of what baseball is considering actually cheating. And because of this kind of, you hear a lot of MLB teams are very frustrated about all this, about the punishment that was laid down. They thought it was going to be harsher, and I'm with them. It's either one or the other. It really comes down to that. Like, you're either going to allow and say, okay, we're gonna let this kind of go, and we accept that it happened. But you know what? Then at the same time, then okay, let's look back on Pete Rose. Okay, we accept that it happened, right? Betting's an edge. Betting's an edge. Okay, PEDs is an edge. So maybe it's time for Roger Clemens to come back in. You know, I'm not even a fan of these guys in general. Barry Bonds, the record in terms of that, I didn't feel that way. But it's not about that anymore. It's really about drawing a line, like understanding where's the edge. What's considered having an edge over another team.
But it's inconsistent with these different edges these players have gotten with the PED era, with sign stealing, with gambling on the game, like all the different advantages and rules and things that are being broken, all provide something different. I mean, it's hard to judge which edge produces a better outcome. And if you're talking about Pete Rose, I mean, what Pete Rose did is a little bit different, but if you're comparing, it's hard to draw that line that you're talking about to try to figure out what punishment is. And this is a problem not just in baseball. I mean, if you look at the NFL with like domestic violence, people get punished completely differently for doing like the exact same thing. Like, I don't know if you remember Josh Brown, the former Giants kicker, who was suspended 1 game for,
sure,
and everyone else is getting 4 games or indefinite bans. The reason behind that is neither here nor there, maybe, but I mean, there's clearly inconsistencies at all levels. And while this really, and I'll get into my frustrations as a Dodger fan and as a general baseball fan about this, but this is a problem for baseball because of whether you think it's actually a serious problem or not, what is going on with sign stealing, which we'll get into. There's a problem for baseball because of the premium that has now been placed on this content. So between the media and the fans and the players and everybody who's involved, now baseball has a huge problem with this.
Yeah, baseball's been constantly getting tainted recently, if you think about it, right? Sports in general have been getting tainted results as of late.
If you listen to our last episode, shout out to the NFL officials for giving us all kinds of tainted results this season.
Exactly, and now it's happening all the time, right? And we're kind of getting used to it, okay? Maybe you can't remove the winning aspect of it from like the Astros perspective or the Red Sox, but something needs to be done, and that's why I keep going back to banned from baseball, because if you're able to cheat other teams, basically to cheat the whole league, which is very familiar with the Black Sox story and the Pete Rose story, then I feel that's where it all falls onto the same category. And Barry Bonds too, right? He cheated a bunch of fans. At the end of the day, McGuire too and Sosa, right? Everyone was hyped up, and that time, as a fan, it was huge.
Home run chase, it saved baseball.
Right, at the time, it saves baseball.
The people who they cheated against are just never going to be able to reap the rewards that they could have been due. So let's get into it. Then let's talk about what. I'm a Dodger fan, so looking at it from an LA fan perspective, there's other teams that have been completely screwed over by this as well, like the Yankees, for example, who lost to both the Red Sox and the Astros through this process. From a fan of the team who was screwed over by the situation, that's exactly what's correct. I mean, you think about all the negative publicity, the negative media that's befallen Clayton Kershaw for like another collapse, and as an objective Dodger fan, it's deserved. It's a terrible thing to watch every single October, but it is something that we're going to watch every single October, and it's just completely unavoidable. We can put the tissues next to you, and you can get yourself like a pillow and a blanket, but no matter what, you better be prepared to cry because there will be waterworks involved. But all the Dodger fans, all the Yankee fans, were robbed of the moment. That 2017 World Series was freaking legendary. It was a 7-game series. Every game was crazy. Bombs left and right. That one game went like 15 innings with ended up scoring like tons of runs in overtime. Puig hit extra innings home run. and
classic
Altuve,
World Series.
great. It was
Yeah,
so great.
and you get robbed from it.
And if you think about how close they were, despite all this nonsense that was going on, it's devastating, absolutely devastating. And to hear the Red Sox were doing something similar, if not, and we're still kind of figuring out exactly what happened with the Red Sox and what their punishment is going to be as of today when we're recording. But although we do know they've separated with Cora.
Yes.
So we're waiting for their punishment similar to what the Astros had, if there will be any. But
I mean, I'm not sure what you could do, but if you could do something, I would say maybe you can remove the trophy and you can remove the banner from the ballpark, from the facility.
What about the title?
The title can't go. The title is the title. They won. Listen, the only 2 times in Major League Baseball history where the title was not presented was in 1904 with an oddball story of the New York Giants not wanting the New York Highlanders to get any spotlight, so they didn't want to play in the playoff. They ended up canceling it. And then 90 years later, 1994, with the strike. Okay, so you're not going to really get anything out of that. But maybe, to the fans.
Why not? I mean, you said like it can't be done, or it shouldn't.
You're not going to remove a title because you can't give the title to another team. They won. The team won.
Can you tell me who the 2005 Heisman Trophy winner is?
There is none.
There is none.
Correct.
It was Reginald Bushington.
Correct. But there is a champion of 2005. There is a national champion.
Right, because that national champion wasn't tainted. The title that was tainted was removed and not replaced.
A lot more than that. It's a whole organization. Now, a few people in that organization tainted that experience, let's just say, for everybody, right? And that those players, or those people responsible, should be banned from baseball, if you want to go over that line. Otherwise, you let it just be.
And the ones who are directly involved are the ones who directly brought about the result. I mean, that result is tainted. It's not like someone in the front office staff swindled someone 5 years ago into a deal and that contract was found to be a problem, but there was no real on-field effect. Like, the players here clearly cheated, maybe and probably under the direction of the coach, under the direction of Cora and the bench coaches. And
players have to know.
If it's a full team issue, it has never been done. That's not a reason to not remove the title. And I think as a Dodger fan, if you're thinking
about remove the title, it just makes no sense to remove the title.
What could be done possibly? Let's look at.
You can't have a whole season that was played. Sam, you can't have a whole season that was played, and then just say nothing happened. And when 2 teams did in fact play 7 games and everyone witnessed it, whatever was happening behind the scenes was still happening behind the scenes. We don't do that in other sports.
We haven't done that in other sports.
You can go back to any sport. Well, let's go back to Jordan when he fouled on his last shot when it was a bull in Game 6. Let's just remove that title because we know that was a foul. That shot really shouldn't have gone in. We can remove the Patriots too because
that's not cheating.
But it could be a form of it. It's an edge. The whole point is what's considered this edge in the game. It's still an edge. At the end of the day, you can steal signs, but if the Dodgers just blew them away with home runs, the sign stealing can just go as far as it goes. You understand? At the end of the day, the Dodgers could still won the World Series.
This is a full organizational attempt to create an advantage over a series of games that really matter in the World Series. You're talking about that Jordan Game 6. How is that relevant to what? It is one
play versus a whole thing, but at the same time, you're looking at a point of a missed call or something that was missed in the game, right? The deflate gate, whole deal. That's missed.
This isn't a missed call. This is organized.
We're talking to
organized
2 years
criminal
ago.
activity.
But it's 2 years in high. We're looking back in 2 years. It's not as listen. This is the whole problem with the players. The players should have said something as soon as it was happening. Why? As soon as those postseason games was happening, and you realized you were getting a little bit of some information, and don't get me started on Dave Roberts and the Dodgers, because at the end of the day, if you're a manager for a team, are you telling me you're not looking at film? Yeah. You're not watching game film. You're not seeing somebody signal somebody that doesn't make sense in the game. Hey, what's that signal he's giving? That You're not.
Yeah,
and then
Roberts to have let this happen twice.
And the same guy, and you're seeing the same guy. He moves to the Red Sox. You see the same guy, and all of a sudden you still don't have him. And you're not watching his film. He beat you the first time. You're going to watch him again. That drove. You know what I mean? So that's already on that side.
These things can both be true. It can be true that Roberts himself needs to and should be held accountable for failing to understand what was currently going on in all of these circumstances. It can also be true that the Astros should have their World Series title removed, and here's why. When we look back on it, and I'm going to use that Reggie Bush example again, when we know that there's no 2005 Heisman winner, we all think, that's the year that Reggie got. Like, we all know about Reggie Bush's magical season where he was the clear Heisman winner. We all know it was him. He doesn't have the actual title. Now, the Astros, if they remove their title, they remove the title in name, but we all still know that the Astros won the World Series that year. Nobody, or not say, shouldn't say nobody, because Twitter's crazy these days.
Yeah.
But I am not suggesting that the Dodgers be gifted the 2017 or 2018 World Series title. That is by no means what I'm suggesting. And any reports to the contrary that are being shown out there that the Dodgers are entitled to this, I think are flat out wrong. The Dodgers, whether or not they were afflicted by cheating, didn't earn the World Series title, nor should they just be awarded it. But that doesn't mean that the Astros have to hold on to it. And I should point out a great note brought to us by producer Matt. Thank you, producer Matt, for helping me nail my co-host over here. That Louisville had to vacate its 2013 title from the college basketball season. So there is
two college situations though.
They are both college, but the first was
pro.
The first, as you said, was just precedent with the one player.
That.
Now there is precedence as a reminder from another team. And I would like to apologize to all my fans for not having that prepared accordingly.
Listen, this is something that's affecting multiple teams within a league. It's affecting the league, and it's now rolling over to all sports leagues in general. And we're seeing this rollover effect. And it started with the signings and the guaranteed money. And now we're looking at punishments and breaking of the rules. And the league in baseball, once again, is in the spotlight for a punishment in regards to cheating.
One of the things that's crazy about this whole sign stealing controversy is, and rightfully so, because this is, on its face, you look at it and you think it's wrong, but just taking a step back from it, we're talking about drawing the line. This is clearly a rule that has been broken, but
teams do it all the time. How can you take a title? Teams do. Raiders did it.
How bad is?
Come on, we're Raider fans. The stick 'em. It happens.
That's not a Raiders thing. Stick 'em was generally used by players in the league.
I understand, but if you watch some of the videos, the Raiders
Jerry Rice,
and that's why they
Jerry
created the
Rice,
rule.
literally the greatest maybe athlete ever at any sport. Literally, publicly announced after. Oh yeah, I use stick 'em. Oh yeah, we all use stick 'em. It's like a thing.
But that's it, right? At some players are trying to get an edge. Teams are getting an edge. We're not taking away championships. That's a Pandora's box that you can go down almost every single year, and you can, most likely not every single team, but it's a Pandora's box that I don't think baseball wants to get into. As a fan, I don't think I want to see that because, sometimes you have a team that might have actually still deserved it. You don't want it now to be subjective.
And I wouldn't have thought of that as necessarily 100% correlated with what happened, but the Astros used their home camera and then had a platform inside the dugout where they're translating all this material. And one of our friendly listeners, Dan Martinez, what's up, Dan? Thanks for sending us some info. Sent us the Astros 2017 postseason stats for comparison, and it's crazy to look at. 9 home games, 9 away games, road games in the 2017 postseason. The record at home is 8-1. On the road is 3-6. Home, 51 runs, 18 home runs. On the road, 27 runs, 9 home runs. Literally half of each. 37 extra base hits, 24 extra base hits.
They had an edge.
A 519 slugging percentage to a 347 slugging percentage. And you're looking at these things and thinking okay, they clearly developed an edge, and you think about the edge developed here,
it really sucks.
As a fan, I'm trying to think.
It really sucks.
I'm outraged, along with everybody else, and then I stop and think for a second, Roberts, you can't even either figure out that this is happening or figure out how to do it yourself.
Something, right?
I'm ready. The Dodgers just lost 2 straight World Series titles. I'm ready to cheat for one. I'm 100% ready to.
We actually do talk about that in our regular podcast. We'll have a segment about would you want a ring? Would you trade one team's rings? But we'll get into that another time.
I'm ready to say, like, now that I've gotten out the way I feel about all this, I think Cora is more genius than monster for what he had done. So it's so genius for figuring out a way to take advantage of the game. Unfortunately, you broke the rules, so he gets to go. And here's to the 2020 Dodgers finding a way to cheat without getting caught to bring home the title for the first time since '88. So
well, it will be an interesting season, and hopefully the baseballs also won't be so woundly tight.
Yeah.
And baseball, listen, they're gonna need a little make.
Well, this is certainly a great way for baseball to stay relevant, if anything else. I mean, there's definitely, like, middle of the off season for baseball. Pitchers and catchers, I don't think they've even reported yet. And here we are, smack dab in the middle of the NFL playoffs, and baseball comes in hot with a controversy. Who would have seen that coming?
Who would have seen that coming?
Yeah, that's great stuff.
And
and speaking of things, who would have seen that coming? We are about to be joined by our favorite call-in host, Aaron Stiefel, a.k.a. LaStief, because there is some interesting UFC news coming up this weekend, so we've got some bonus UFC coverage for our listeners out there. So welcome back to Sports In Radio. Steve, how's it going, brother?
Thanks for having me back on, everybody.
What's going on, Steve?
Now, there was something you wanted to talk about a fight this weekend.
Yeah, so this weekend is UFC 246. That means there have been 246 of these fights already. And I know, are either of you, Arik, Sammy, either of you guys follow fans? What's your thoughts on UFC?
I love a good knockout. I love a good KO. I admittedly know the the big fighters, from the day, like Silva, Liddell, even today, ones like
play that game on
McGregor.
Xbox.
Oh yeah, I mean, who doesn't love a good fight? I mean, even people who are like, I don't like boxing that much, but I for sure watched Mayweather Pacquiao. I watched Hopkins De La Hoya back in the day. I mean, like, these are just things that you get together and do. Right. It's a thing. It's a fan thing. You just watch.
McGregor Mayweather.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's just.
Dude, I love that new
McGregor Mayweather
ad.
was so stupid. That was
oh
like,
man.
I put together a huge party and I'm sorry, I did that for the previous one. But McGregor Mayweather, everyone's together watching just like a nothing fight. Like nothing happened at all really. They got in there a couple times, but
I kind of wanted him to win.
I'm ready for the rematch.
That'd be fun. Guess who's back?
Yeah, so there are some good fights. So I think we just brought up McGregor. McGregor back in action this weekend?
Yeah, so he's back at this weekend. And so the thing is, can you name anyone else on the card? Do you know anything else going on with this fight? I think honestly it's going to be a huge disappointment is what I'm trying to get at.
From a entertainment perspective or from a draw perspective?
I think from a draw perspective, and I think that's going to also just be the entertainment side of it.
Yeah, take some of the juice out of it. Yeah, I admittedly, like, this one completely flew under the radar for me. I feel like the Conor McGregor hype train came and left the station for the most part. I mean, it's possible he can do some crazy shit.
I don't know. I'm telling you, those ads, they really got me wanting to watch this on Saturday night. I don't think it really matters at the end of the day, even if he wins or loses.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It seems like he's the energy though of UFC. He's kind of is that outcast. Like he says that he wants to take this time to apologize to absolutely nobody. He wants to be the odd man out. He wants to be hated upon, and he wants to be the Riley one, right? He wants to make noise. McGregor's good for UFC. He's good for UFC. He's good for fighting in general, and if he does have that rematch with Mayweather, that could be a lot of fun too.
So if we're talking about like UFC, I'm way more interested. Honestly, right now, I am more interested in like Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury and some of those boxers, like from say like that's really where my personal story would be like for fighting. But when you talk about McGregor, he's a dude who flashes. I mean, he flashes, and UFC, I mean, as exciting as UFC is when a good fight is popping up, it could still use like a bigger draw, and they have to really capitalize on people like him. So I see where that would be a big draw, but yeah, exactly. It's kind of like Steve has kind of said here, snuck up before.
Yeah.
At least, I mean, you said you were planning on watching that. I literally had no idea before we decided.
It's those ads.
Yeah,
they work.
Ad money still works.
Yeah.
I might skip this one. I've watched every UFC for the last,
Lone Wolf.
I think of 3, 4, even 5 years maybe. And, McGregor hasn't fought since October 2018. I'm lying. I've skipped a couple, but this is one of those I think I'm going to skip because as much as Anthony Showtime Pettis on the card, Claudia Gadelia, Holly Holm, none of these fights, there's no title fight in the entire card. And the Conor McGregor-Donald Cerrone fight is a, hey, Conor, you've been gone since October 2018, where you got your ass handed to you by Nurmagomedov. We're going to give you Donald Cerrone, who has a great bunch of accolades, most knockouts, most by kick, most fights, period. He has 33. He has 23 wins. Conor McGregor's only fought 25 times. But it's more of like a, let's give you a warm-up fight, and then from here, we'll figure out where you're going to fight. And he's fighting at 170, Like, he's fought, he has a belt at 145 and 155. He had those belts. But now he's at 170. So they're kind of angling, because there's a lot of people he could fight at 170 he hasn't fought yet, who are bigger names.
Could be good for the league. Bigger names are always better. Listen, they got to sell this thing, right? ESPN Plus has got it. Saturday night. It's a good sell. He's a good name. I mean, some of these guys, they could bring up a league. And I think he's one of these type of players that, one type of athletes that that allows a league to flourish.
And
Let's be in the air more.
And we're going to move into our final thought shortly here. We've got a really cool final thought for you tonight. Before we do, we're talking about a serious fight that happened. Did anybody watch Jeopardy GOAT? Did we?
Oh, not yet. No spoilers.
Oh, spoilers.
That was the most entertaining fight I have watched in a very long time. These guys are freaks. If we're calling them like mathletes or brain athletes, they're some of the most athletic dudes around, just with their knowledge drops. It's unbelievable how much these guys know in preparation for this show. And the winner gets $1 million, and second and third place both get $250,000. That just for a quick tournament, that's getting millions of viewers, and I am one of them. Very, very much love the fight.
Hey, $1 million, that's not bad.
Yeah, $1 million for a and the tournament works. It's whichever one of them wins 3 episodes first. So at the most, if they each win 2-2-2,
So
the
those
seventh.
spoilers, yeah.
I'm saying the 7th one would be the most. So 7 episodes most for a chance at $1 million. It's a good hourly rate.
Hey, $1 million. You know who else is doing $1 million? The NHL actually has done it for their All-Star game. Divisions play each other. This is actually really cool. If anybody's, it's kind of exciting news. If anybody's been following the NHL over the last few years, overtime has switched from 4-on-4 to 3-on-3. And
A little more spacing.
Some speed. There's skill, creativity to the game. That is just more. It's just allowed in 3-on-3. And this year in St. Louis, January 24th and 25th, the All-Star game, the NHL, along with their recent rebirth of 3-on-3 games between the divisions, and then the winner, the division that wins, gets $1 million. The players win. They're actually going to feature a 3-on-3 women's hockey game between the U.S. and Canada, women's hockey. This is really cool. I'm telling you, this is really exciting stuff. This is actually the 3rd year now where the women are involved in the All-Star game. 3 years ago, they were invited to hang when Team USA was playing nearby. Last year, Kendall Schofield, she participated in the skills competition. She finished 7th, fastest skater. So there's really exciting stuff here. Okay, these women can play, and to be honest, I think it's going to be a great showcase for women's hockey. There's some great skill 3-on-3. It's open hockey. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited for it. There's a lot of great women's news now with the CBA. This is also really good for the WNBA.
Yeah, WNBA. And before we talk about the WNBA, it's great. I mean, you're talking about the excitement that's coming from the positive public addition of women to the sports that are being watched. And look at all the the actual NBA players today hyping up the WNBA.
Yeah.
Going to games, showing their support. Kobe taking his daughters to WNBA games, sitting front row, of course. Kobe Bean, Mamba, miss you, brother. But,
Mamba out.
I love that. I love that that's where we're at. 2020 is definitely where we should be at this point. It's criminal that we're not there yet, and society is continuing to work towards it. And
it's
this
a
new
step
CBA,
in the right direction.
Is awesome. From this basic information, core players can earn up to 215, 225,000 up from 100K a year ago. The max contracts have tripled in potential value, up to almost 500,000 or at 500,000, which, I mean, that's a great salary, not compared to some of the NBA players, but I mean, part of that is going to be ad revenue and fan money and tickets.
It's about the fans.
There's more than that, but
it is different. They don't sell out, obviously, like other NBA teams. You know, they do. But that's a big part of it.
They do pull consistently strong enough to be able to do the things that they're currently doing in the CBA. And there are some genuine superstars who deserve to be paid.
They're talking about a potential 50-50 revenue split
between the teams.
Yeah, which is also could be very beneficial.
Yeah, and I mean that's more of that strong CBA for the players. There is kind of what we're seeing, a little player empowerment across all leagues, and it's going to rattle some people and rattle some feathers. But personally, this
butterfly effect,
like the players, if they don't look out for themselves, I mean, no one's really looking out for them. Fans can get loud about it, but the players have to look out for number one. Because let's face it, we look at like in the NFL, for example, guaranteed money. The NFL owners and the teams are obviously looking out for themselves, so they wouldn't hesitate to do something to a player that's in their own best interest. So all these players,
until somebody pushes you, why would you push back?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
So until all these these player empowerment and stronger moves are happening, it's great for the players, and I think it's going to be great for the league. It's going to put a safer, competitive product out there across all the leagues. And congratulations to our women listeners and women folk for continued expansion into the public eye in all these sports. It's great, and
we're excited about it.
Looking forward to more of it in the Roaring 20s.
Absolutely. And Steve, how about a UFC final thought for us?
Yeah, so looking at UFC 246, I'm only excited about two fights on this card. One is the up-and-coming 8-0 Macy Barber. She is a negative 1,000 favorite. You're going to put $1,000 down to win 100 on her. But she's facing Roxanne Modafferi, who is not a pushover. And even though it's expected to be a knockout, I would say take it with Macy Barber on the decision, and you can use the points bet to take Roxanne Modafferi to hedge. And the other fight, obviously, we got to talk about the McGregor fight, right? So I think he's going to win by knockout. That is the only knockout I see on this entire card that I can see. But don't bet the negative 200. Don't put $200 down to win 100. Instead, spread out your money on McGregor by knockout in rounds 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you want to see that breakdown, go check out my Twitter, TPJ187. That's the Poker Jew, living my life 7 days a week. So go check out that Twitter account, and you can find how to break that down and make a little more money.
Well, that is great information, and what a Twitter handle. Thank you, Stiefel. That's an interesting bet. I may have to hop on that, actually. His ladder bet for the Chiefs-Texans game proved to be incredible once Patrick Mahomes decided to do Patrick Mahomes things.
And we just want to thank everybody for tuning in. This has been the emergency edition, signal stealing edition podcast.
Ambulance is heading out.
Oh, but this has been a lot of fun, and hopefully you've subscribed below, and if not, please do. Please make sure that you stay tuned for our next podcast.
Episode 2 coming at you, a little post AFC NFC Championship game, pre-Super Bowl. We'll mix in some fun prop bets, both for the actual Super Bowl and some things just to think about from a fun gambling perspective in general, and all other current events for the sports that are going to be happening around that time. Any fun ideas, reach out to us, guys, because we're also interested in what's going on in the sports world, according to you, the fans.
Yeah, as always, we're available on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, so definitely feel free to reach out then. And
you can.
Podcast is available almost everywhere you get podcasts.
Thanks very much, guys. Wee woo, SDR Emergency Pod, LFG SDR. We out.